From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio, or at least myself, Neal, in Columbia, South Carolina. Ole Miss, Oklahoma tomorrow, 11:40 Central Time. The, second round of the NCAA Tournament, if those play-in games count as round one. So the second round of the tournament on Friday in Columbia, the Sooners and the Rebels. The tournament starts today at 11:15, Minnesota and Louisville. Have the first tip in a 7-10 game this morning. So we'll talk.
What a coincidence, by the way. What a coincidence that Rick Pitino's son will coach against Louisville. That did not come up in the committee room. It just worked out on the bracket. Damnedest thing.
Just worked out, and it worked out to get it done first thing in the morning. Go ahead and get that thing out of here.
That's the way it fell. That's just the way it fell. I'm gonna tell you, I'm a believer. I'm a true believer. I'm looking forward to black curtains and nondescript cups and the NCAA Nazis. I mean helpers today. I think it's a wonderful event.
Well, you want to play this out a little bit more?
Sure.
The first game features Louisville and Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah.
The second game, already by 1 o'clock, it'll be over. LSU is in the second game. Auburn is in the third game. Go ahead and get that out of here, too. And then Michigan State's in the fifth game. No prime time for any of them. Go ahead and get that done. Peace. While everybody's at work.
That's coincidence. Total coincidence.
We'll give you Michigan and Kentucky tonight. Gonzaga. You can have them.
Total coincidence.
Villanova, because for some reason Villanova is still seen as the little engine that could. So we'll do Villanova tonight. How about that? Nevada, they're cute.
I think it's neat that all those Lutheran kids want to go to Villanova. I think it's neat.
It's like all the Baptists going to Baylor over the years.
Yeah. All those kids to go play for Scott Drew. They're religious. That's all.
Oh, gosh. Podcast brought to you today by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. They showed you at Swayze yesterday. You just got to get the Stadium Cup. You keep it in your car, go in. You fill it up 49 cents. Big, large cup, 49 cents every time at Blue Sky and the Oxford Exxon. You can save money at the pump with the Speed Pass Plus app, the mobile rewards program as well. So take advantage of all those things. You get the lunch special for $4.99, two sides bread, 32-ounce drink for that. Or tonight, if you are interested in sitting down, watching Kentucky, watching Michigan, some ribs on the way home because they'll be ready to go. You can call ahead. They'll even wrap them up and have them waiting on you. They're at the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are. And remind me, we're going to talk about the Oxford Exxon, specifically one Benjamin Craddock and one Anthony Chase Parham momentarily.
All right.
I have a bone to pick with both of you, and I plan to pick it right here on this Potato Log podcast. But first, I'm going to tell you that normally I am in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. I was there just yesterday. Got my oil change on my way to Columbia, and they got me in and out quickly. It was well done. My vehicle was ready to go. Great service. Everyone's nice. Everyone takes care of you. That's just the way they do it at Clark Ford. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove it to you. Give him a call. Tell him what you're looking for, and he'll send you a quote within 15 minutes. Even if you might be looking at a different kind of vehicle. Maybe you're looking at a Chevrolet. Maybe you're looking at something else. Give Corey a call. At least get a quote. Give him an opportunity. It does us a favor. And you're probably doing yourself a favor. Get a quote, and you just might change your mind on what you're looking for. 662-257-1900 at the end of your deal. Tell Corey that you heard about Clark Ford on the podcast, and you'll save $500 off the already great bottom line at Clark Ford.
Go ahead. What's your bone?
So I love both you guys. You're my friends, and I'll get over this. But at 4:54 a.m. this morning, at 4:54 a.m. this morning, I'm right now sleeping in South Carolina. Their mascot is a rooster. The damn roosters weren't up yet, and you and Ben Craddock are blowing me up in a group text. Listen, some of y'all need to sleep.
Well, it was 5:54 where you're at.
Yeah, but it was 4:54 where you are, and that's where I am most of the time. And I was still on Central Time Zone, and I intended to sleep at least another hour.
Okay. There's a couple different things here. One is, there is that little do not disturb thing where you could just mute the conversation where you don't hear any alerts should we text at 4:54 in the morning.
Yeah, but to do that, I had to wake up, put my glasses on.
Well, this isn't the first time we've done it, so you could have in the past realized this was a possibility. Two, this is a little bit on Ben because he and I text a lot at 4:30 in the morning. He added you to the conversation. It typically is just the two of us.
Well, I blamed both of you. I'm getting over it as the day goes along, and I ended up getting up and getting my Murphy Holloway story written. I made the most. I was handed lemons, and I made some.
We were helping
lemonade.
out. It was people helping people.
Yeah, I made lemonade from the lemons, but man, as my eyes sit here and tremble from the lack of sleep, I know who to blame.
It was 6:00.
I stayed up and watched Thunder Raptors. They went to overtime.
Well, that's
I went
not
to bed.
our fault.
That's true. That is not your fault. But I intended to sleep a little bit, and
Ben has switched over the years. He used to be a guy that we'd have a hard time getting anywhere by like 8:30 or 9, and now he's up at like 4.
Yeah, he was up and at 'em, and he's here at Columbia.
Now he's in Columbia too.
Yeah, so in his eyes, he's like, well, it's 6 a.m.
You got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did wonder about that, though. I was kind of curious whether you had alerts on and we were waking you up at 4:45 this morning.
Well, I don't like turning my phone off or anything when I'm on the road because if someone needed to reach me, I like to be reachable.
You probably should just mute that one conversation. When you've got the text up, you can just slide right or left or whatever, and it shows you the do not show alerts function.
Okay. Gotcha.
I can help you out with that later.
Okay.
Just saying. Yeah, you spoke of that. We'll talk tournament. We'll talk baseball in a little bit. Ole Miss has played from a sheer dominance standpoint, maybe the number one game in program history yesterday. They played Arkansas Pine Bluff in the second game of that 2-week midweek series, and they held on, beating the Golden Lions 25-0 in 7 innings. It was also a no-hitter, the first combined no-hitter in program history, the 5th overall, and the first since Russ Johnson no-hit Mississippi State in 1966. So some history made, even though it was the least climactic no-hitter that I've never seen one in person, but that I've ever even heard about one at all. So Ole Miss, I think, had the most home runs since 1991. They had the most RBIs in a game ever, or tied for the most ever. They scored for the most runs overall since 2003, and yeah, again through 25-0. So they head to Missouri today. They'll play another team that's wearing black and gold, but will be a little more talented than the Golden Lions when they get to Columbia later tonight, and play tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. But basketball first. So you got Media Day today. Ole Miss familiar with the venue. They've obviously played at the Colonial Center multiple times, playing South Carolina over the years. You got Murphy Holloway up, as you mentioned this morning, the story, talking to him about 2013, his message to the Rebels. How's Murph doing? What did he have to say?
He was good. We had a fun conversation. That I get this question a lot, like in mailbags or something, and I don't know. I never really know how to answer it. Who's your favorite team you've ever covered? It might be that one. That team was insane. I mean, that team had, and Murphy's quote was, "We were different, man." They were different. I mean, Murphy had a lot of personality. Let's put it that way. That team had Marshall Henderson. It had Reginald Buckner. It had Snoop White, who could be kind of moody. It had Jarvis Summers, who was...
He kind of played the straight guy.
Yeah. it had Nick Williams, who was sort of like at the end of that season, I thought Nick should have had a degree in psychology. He was like a therapist every single day, just holding it together. And it had Derek Millinghouse, and that team was nuts. I mean, that team was nuts. It truly was. It was that team was nuts. And all that nuttiness caused them to lose a couple of bad games, including that game in Starkville that at the time it looked like that was going to be the end of their tournament hopes, the end of the Kennedy era. If you remember that next week, they come home and they play Alabama and they have a 20-something point lead and damn near blow it.
After they'd lost to State and South Carolina, a Carolina team that was awful too.
And then they go to LSU on LSU Senior Day on a Saturday. And LSU was a pretty good team, and Ole Miss just curb stomped them. Played the best game that team had played all season, and it was nuts. And then they go to the tournament in Nashville. This is where it kind of picked up the story a little bit with Murphy. They get the crazy runner from Millinghouse. Vanderbilt knocks off Kentucky. They play Vanderbilt on no legs in the semifinals, beat them, beat a really good Florida team, win the SEC tournament. They go to Kansas City. They beat a very good Wisconsin team that had a couple pros on it. And then turn around 2 days later and play LaSalle and LaSalle, however you say that, and get beat kind of late in the game. Just couldn't put it away. They get beat. And I asked Murphy, when you think about that season, do you think about Nashville? Do you think about Wisconsin? Do you think about the last game? And he talked about how his brain tries to stop in Nashville, to let the season end on that Sunday with cutting down the nets and in Bridgestone and taking a trophy home to Oxford. But that's part of the magic of this time of year in college basketball, is that you turn around pretty quickly and play another game. And they were so good that Friday against Wisconsin. And then kind of typical of that team, they didn't quite bring it on Sunday. They played okay, but they didn't play with the intensity that they had played with on Friday. The crowd was different. When they played Wisconsin on that Friday, it was in Kansas City, and they were playing the undercard game, if you will.
Because K-State was there.
K-State was playing LaSalle next, and that place was packed with K-State fans, and Kansas was playing later that day. And so there was a lot of Kansas people in the building.
I would assume a lot of people pulling for Ole Miss, A, to see Marshall, and B, because they're going, well, if Kansas State wins, we'd much rather play the 12 than the 5.
Oh, absolutely. They were all cheering for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And so it was the crowd was kind of electric in the second half of that game, and Marshall fed off of it. So did some of the other kids, and Ole Miss wins. And then
they outscored them by 14 in the second half.
And so the Ole Miss-LaSalle game was the nightcap on Sunday, and Kansas got beat right before Ole Miss played. And so all the KU fans went to find a bar to get drunk, and the K-State fans had been gone for 2 days, and the arena was kind of empty. The funny thing about the tournament, you do have to be a team that is capable of generating its own energy. I'm always scared of teams with dramatic home road splits. It's one of the reasons I kind of like Ole Miss tomorrow. I think maybe Oklahoma's home road splits are a little more extreme than Ole Miss's. But you have to create your own energy, and Ole Miss couldn't that day. And LaSalle, the longer the game went, the more they knew they were in it. And the longer it went, the more they had a chance. And I think the hard part for those Ole Miss kids, and 6 years later, Murphy Holloway was still talking about it, I think they thought they would have had one hell of a shot at getting to the Final Four. I can tell you that people inside that program, Al Pinkins and Andy Kennedy and Bill Armstrong and all of those people believed that they were a great matchup for Wichita, that they could beat Wichita. And that would have put them in an Elite Eight game in Los Angeles at the Staples Center for the right to go to the Final Four with Marshall Henderson and that story. I mean, it would have been just nuts. Marshall Henderson takes Hollywood. I can remember when Kansas State got beat thinking, because I went ahead and booked a flight the way Southwest works. I booked a flight to L.A. thinking Marshall Henderson takes Hollywood. That's the story that's coming. It was going to be Ole Miss was going to be in the spotlight. How they would have handled that, who knows? But it would have been fascinating. And I asked Murphy, what happens? He goes, I just kind of curl up in a ball when I think about that game. Because you get one shot at it,
Yeah, they had the ball in the air to win. Marshall gets fouled, doesn't get the call at one point late. I mean, they just couldn't get over the hump. It was just nonstop.
Yeah, Marshall definitely got fouled. You could hear his arm get slapped.
Yeah.
But officials don't want to blow the whistles. It's something to watch as the tournament gets going today. Officials don't really like blowing whistles late in these games. You're it's going to get physical late. You're not going to get touch fouls late in these games typically.
Oh, gosh. What is the schedule in Columbia? I know, because there are obviously multiple regions or whatever there. What's the rest of the games? Who's right after Ole Miss?
I think I can tell you. Let's see. Right after Ole Miss is Virginia and Gardner-Webb. And then it is Duke against North Dakota State. And then it's Virginia Commonwealth against UCF.
Okay. UCF that has the big 7'6" dude.
Yeah. So, if you think about it, tomorrow morning when Ole Miss tips off, the Duke crowd's probably not going to be there yet.
No.
Some of the Virginia crowd will start to come in the second game. Yeah. So, Ole Miss and Oklahoma are going to have to sort of generate their own intensity and their own energy early in that game. It's going to be early in the day, 12:40 here, 11:40 back in the Central Time Zone. And the arena will probably be half full at most to start the day. And you have to generate your own interest, your own energy. And it's the biggest game that you play all season, but it doesn't have that feel in the arena. It's a weird thing. If you've never been to the tournament, these first couple of rounds, it can, especially the first round, it can be a little funky. It's one of the reasons, in my opinion, that you see the upsets happen.
Yeah, I think both schools kind of have a positive. You can debate how big each one is, but Oklahoma has been there before and at least is going to understand a little bit that you're so hyped up to get in the tournament. It's like, okay, here, big deal, big deal, and then you get in the arena and it's empty, and it's like, well, hold on, this is supposed to be a big deal, and it feels like we're playing a neutral site game on Christmas because it doesn't have the feel that you expected it to have when you got picked if you haven't been there. So I think that's an advantage for Oklahoma, and then the advantage for Ole Miss, and I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it didn't. They've at least played in that arena. They've been there before. It's a somewhat familiar area for them.
Yeah, I think familiarity is definitely a slight advantage for Ole Miss. I think experience is a slight advantage for Oklahoma. Listen, man, and I said this with Jeffrey. I'll say it a couple more times. I think this is coin toss game. And so when someone goes, let's just say Ole Miss wins by 20 tomorrow. When someone comes back and goes, you thought it was going to be a coin toss. What I mean is, I think it could go any gazillion different directions. Like unlike Gardner-Webb, Virginia, for example, if the gods came down and said Gardner-Webb wins, I would say, oh wow, they made a 30-footer at the buzzer. If you come down and tell me Oklahoma wins by 15, I'm like, yeah, Ole Miss didn't shoot it well. Or Ole Miss wins by 15, I'd say Oklahoma didn't shoot it well. They couldn't score with Ole Miss. Anything could happen in this Ole Miss-Oklahoma game. It's a coin toss. It could be a really close game. There's any range of things could happen. There's absolutely no way to feel particularly great about any of it. If you're Oklahoma, the one thing that has killed them all year is real athletic bigs. Ole Miss doesn't have a real athletic big. The one thing that's killed Ole Miss this year is athletic bigs. The last time they played in this building, Chris Silva ate their lunch. Well, Chris Silva doesn't play for Oklahoma, and they don't have anybody like Silva on their team. So that gets negated, and it really is going to come down to guard play and, like you said, who makes shots, and show me the first, like you said yesterday, I think it was yesterday, day before, whenever. Show me the first 5 minutes of each half. Let me see who's really dialed in early, who's making buckets, who starts to kind of lose confidence, because both of these teams are very apt to lose confidence when shots don't fall, and they're both capable of gaining confidence when shots do fall.
Yeah. We'll get Jeffrey's take in a second. Before we do that, I'll tell you about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. 30 years old this year, and one of the oldest mortgage companies in the Southeast. All underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. So you're getting local underwriting that understands your market, and a condo financing leader in Oxford. So ask Jason about the float down option, which allows you to lock in the current rate, but if rates go down before you close, you just get the lower rate. 662-234-2704 or JLOWE@communitymtg.com.
Jeffrey's going to join us on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law, specialize in personal injury law, real estate law, but what they have is a general practice that can handle any of your legal needs. So it's kind of like what I was telling you about Corey Clark, and if you're in the market for a vehicle, if you think you might have a legal issue going on in your life, whatever that legal issue might be, give them a call at Patterson and Earhart. You're going to talk right to John Calvin Patterson or right to Wes Earhart within the same day, and that's guaranteed. That initial consultation is going to be free. You can get them on the phone, have a conversation, find out whether the legal issue that you think you have is or isn't a legal issue, and what you need or not need to do about it. It's pretty simple. 662-526-1992. Their website is pelaws.com. And like I said, that initial consultation is free. Warm weather's getting here slowly, but it's coming. And with it comes the inevitable debate of sock or no sock with your loafers. So save your feet and your shoes from making their own impression. Step into spring with some no-shows from Dead Soxy. You really need to experience the difference a quality sock makes. It's the first step in dressing for the job you want, not the job you have. So go to deadsoxy.com, enter the code Rebel Grove at checkout, receive 30% off all orders, including sale items. These no-shows are the same quality you already love and enjoy with their traditional dress socks, and they come with Dead Soxy's no-slip guarantee. So go to deadsoxy.com, check out the no-show collection. Remember to enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 30% off all orders. We're also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pintrust is based in Madison, Mississippi. It's got clients in 25 states. It's founded in 1997, and what they do is they provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and so much more. At Pinnacle Trust, they treat investing like a commodity. They make decisions using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, what they do is they sit down with you and they listen to your goals, they study your expenses, and they give you a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan that is built just for you. To learn more, go to pintrust.com. That's PINNtrust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fee.
Podcast also brought to you by Blow Dry Bar Oxford, 662-638-3310, 10 to 6 Tuesday to Friday, 10 to 3 on Saturday if you're in town this weekend. Voted best new business in Oxford in 2018. And remember, if you're a guy going in, you can go in and get a haircut. You can save some money doing that. You mentioned rebelgrove.com. I've seen some examples. Do a great job. Going to try it out myself as well. And for the ladies in your life, or if you're a lady listening, go ahead and get a gift card or purchase one of their ever popular blowouts. Again, discounts there at rebelgrove.com as well. So a lot of different options for you at Blow Dry Bar Oxford, again on Jackson Avenue, and that number is 662-638-3310. Now to Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey, good morning. Welcome to one of the better 48-hour windows in sports. First couple of rounds, especially for gamblers, first couple of rounds of the NCAA Tournament beginning today. We do this every single year. I know you got it mapped out. You figured out what the last chance bets are late tonight to try to get back in it. What's the plan today? What's the itinerary? How are we going about this thing?
I've wanted to do this for the last couple of years. I believe that they soften the rims legitimately. Like, I do think they soften the rims. And so I've been wanting to do this for the last couple of years. I think today might be the day that I pull the trigger. I want to just go in and blindly bet every over.
Across the board.
Across the board.
Okay, do we have any stats whatsoever backing up that has won the last few years?
I'm typically an under guy. I just think that an under's more rewarding. I think it's a smarter play.
Jeffrey,
in general.
the games have happened in years past. Let's check and see what has happened in the past.
So
what's the percentage?
I'm typically an under guy in the past. I typically have been losing.
Stop. What makes you believe? Because I'm right now. I'm as for an NCAA conspiracy as one can be. But what makes you believe that they're softening the rims for the first and second rounds of the tournament?
Because points are more exciting, and this is their one day that people are like, oh yeah, college basketball. It's a thing.
Is there any data to support them having done this in past seasons?
I need to go back and look. I don't know. I don't remember about last year, but yes, the previous, not including last year, the previous 2 years, it was the first 2 days of the tournament. It was a bloodbath in terms of overs versus unders.
Huh.
Okay,
that's interesting.
Okay,
like I'm talking 65 or 70%. I mean, I don't just willy-nilly go, you know what? I feel like lighting some money on fire.
Are you betting every game in some instance, or are we actually picking and choosing and using some analysis today?
Why would I do that? It's my favorite day of the year. Why would you, first off, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to bet every 1 in 16 and 2 in 15, but yeah, if it's a decent game.
Well, you can find a bet in the 1 in 16s and 2 in 15s. There's some kind of prop somewhere that would interest you.
I am thinking about taking Virginia. I'm thinking about taking Virginia first half against Gardner Webb or whatever, because I feel like they're going to need to exercise some demons early. I mean, if I'm Tony Bennett, I'm not doing this whole thing like we're playing our system. In that game, I'm getting them. I'm like, you know what? We're coming out, and I want you to see if you can beat them I want to see if you can embarrass them and set a record.
I think they've got so much baggage that I mean, do we really think they're going to make a legitimate run?
Well, I mean, I do.
Do you?
I mean, statistically speaking, like the last 15 years. The only teams that have won a national title, with the exception of UConn under Kevin Ollie, they've all been inside the top, I think it's the top 11 in KenPom in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. Virginia is like number 2 and number 3 in both. Like there are 4 teams, according to that data, that suggest that they could win a national title. It's Virginia, Duke, Michigan State, and North Carolina.
I get all that. I guess my point, and I know we differ on what previous years matter and all that, but I think some teams just postseason play, the baggage pops up and they can't handle it. And Virginia has shown no ability over the last 8 years or whatever it is since they've been good with Tony Bennett to be that kind of team to actually win in the postseason. They freak out every time there's an opportunity.
This is kind of, I agree with you. This is my put up or shut up time, because don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like if you lose a player, like you for sure should lose to a 16 seed. But last year they lost one of their best players before the tournament, and then UMBC comes in and just starts just raining it in from everywhere on the floor. So like you can kind of see like how it was a buzzsaw, and this is the last straw.
What are we doing?
Yes, I agree with you. I think there are teams. I mean, the truth is, like, I think Ole Miss baseball is very much in that category.
Yeah, you have to prove it because the history says there'll be some issue every time. Even though every year is sort of in a vacuum, it's not.
Sure, and you can come up with a reasonable justification for every time that it happens. But the truth is, it is a postseason sport, just like college baseball. It's a postseason sport. And so, like, at the end of the day, that's what you're judged on. And yes, I do think there are reasons for why certain teams play tighter than others. But I do think, I don't know, maybe I've convinced myself because I've watched Virginia play probably 7 or 8 times this year. I have convinced myself that they're different this year.
What are we doing with LSU today?
I just don't think Yale has seen. I don't think Yale has seen the type of athletes, the type of length, the type of team that they're going to go up against. And I don't fall into this category. Like, I don't think Will Wade on the bench matters personally. And Neil may disagree, but I don't.
No, I don't think it matters. I thought they were right to lose to Florida or Arkansas last week, and they did. In much big part of that was because it didn't really matter to LSU, and I knew they were distracted. They've had less time to be distracted now. They know Smart's back. They know Wade's not coming back. I mean, they can all talk and say what they want, but they know Wade's gone. I think they're okay against Yale. I don't think they make a deep run in the tournament though. This guy's not. I don't know. He's not a very good coach. Wade's not a great coach either. But Wade at least had power over them, if that makes any sense, and they knew it. I mean, Wade could bench you for multiple games. This cat's gone too at the end of the season. So I don't know. I just think with kids that doesn't work.
Yale's only 2 games against kind of competent opponents, unless you include Memphis in that as well, is Miami and Duke. They beat Miami 77-73 really early, and then Duke obviously destroyed them by like 45. Speaking of that, everybody has Duke winning this thing for the most part. Are we worried about the fact that they can't shoot a 3-pointer to save their life, or does that just not even matter because what else they have?
Well, I changed my opinion on Friday night when I watched that whole North Carolina game.
Okay.
Yep.
Different basketball team with Zion Williamson because you can't do anything with him. They have the best player, and while he is more of a front court player, he's not like DeAndre Ayton. You can't just like put 3 guys on him because they also have, they have a couple other NBA guys that just decided they wanted to slap the floor and get into some defensive stances and play for America and play for Coach USA. So, like, you can't. Like, this isn't an Arizona situation. Arizona's guards last year were horrific. And that was the scouting report on them. Like, make the guards beat you. Their guards cannot beat you. And do not let Ayton take over a game because he can take over a game. Duke's a little different. But I do agree with your general premise that I think you either, and again, it's a tournament, and one 40-minute game can end anything. But I think you kind of have to be with Duke this year. You either have to be, this team is winning the title, or you can see them like, I don't think Virginia Tech can beat them, but like Virginia Tech's not bad. Like Virginia Tech metrically is like by far the best 4 seed. And like, or Michigan State, I think of all the teams, like at the end of the day, like, hey, you're going to have to play somebody good at some point. But I do think Michigan State probably has the biggest gripe that they're probably the number 1-2 seed and they're having to play Duke.
That's fair.
This also feels like Izzo has a bunch of like bad tournament appearances, but aren't we due for the Izzo run? They happen like every 4 years.
If you're into conspiracies, you believe that the NCAA really doesn't want Michigan State in this tournament, in the Final Four. They don't want them getting a week of people talking about Larry Nassar.
Yeah. That one I'm less on board with because it feels like the NCAA was the whole time was like nothing to see here.
If you had
yeah. I'm just saying if you're a conspiracist, you think maybe.
Do you like Michigan State's chances of a run more than Michigan, or Michigan more than Michigan State?
I think it's Michigan State only because I have now officially bet on Michigan 3 times against Michigan State and had double-digit leads and lost every bet. Do you realize how impressive that is?
Yet you keep doing it.
It's leads, double-digit.
So how much of Oklahoma have you watched this season? What do you think of that matchup?
Watched them play twice. They're very similar to last year, where I watched them early in the year and really liked them. And then when they got into Big 12 play, they looked like they'd forgotten how to play. But at least last year it made sense because, as Neil, I don't know if I'd say you reported it, but you definitely had talked to people, and Trae Young had been given the grade that he needed to be given after the first half of the year, and they're like, "Hey, man, you're gonna be a top 5 pick," and lo and behold, he was a top 5 pick, and he clearly changed his game to protect himself.
Damn right.
And I do not fault him, because let me tell you what I would have done had I been told that exact same information. I'm making sure I get to June healthy.
Yep.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney would have been like, "Man, you really kind of took a few off there, didn't you?" So I don't know. Neither team has great form, I feel like, coming into the tournament, but they almost are kind of mirror image teams from what I've seen thus far. Both teams have very good coaches, and both teams kind of maximize what they have. I lean towards Oklahoma because I think they have slightly better players. Like, I sincerely worry about Ole Miss if Ole Miss has to get really good games from at least 2 of the 3 guards.
Yeah.
And you need at least one of the 2 big men to justify his existence.
Oh, it's one of those games, Jeffrey, where if Bruce Stevens plays well, and he could, there's
Sure.
no one on the Oklahoma team that is going to physically dominate Bruce Stevens.
Agreed.
So if Bruce Stevens is dialed in and he plays well, and they get 1 3/4 games out of the 3 guards, I like Ole Miss's chances. If 2 of the guards kind of don't show up and Stevens is lethargic for whatever reason, and sometimes he is, and he hasn't been much lately, in fairness to him, then I like Oklahoma's chances. As it is, man, I think it's flip a coin.
Oh yeah, to me, if you have a strong opinion of which way this game's going to go, one way or the other, I would like to have a conversation with you and have you lay it out for me, because again,
you're just a fan if you do. You're a fan if you do it. That's okay. But I mean, your fandom is talking if that's how you are.
Yes, or you're someone who's bet on both teams, and Oklahoma's been a team that's not been a good team against the spread, and Ole Miss has been one of the best teams in the country against the spread. So I think that would kind of weigh into it. But like, if you can really like lay out a scenario for me, the way this game plays out, I would like to know why.
Here's my thing with Ole Miss, and I don't know any other way to make it this simple, and I hate to pin it on one kid, but in the last 2 games, Terrence Davis hasn't shown up. He had 5 points against Missouri. Now, 3 of them were huge, but he has 5 points against Missouri in a game that Ole Miss probably really needed to win. And then in a tournament game that I know it didn't matter, but he had 3 points, went 1 for 11 from the floor. He's got to give them 12 to 15 points tomorrow. And if he does, they're probably in good shape. And if he doesn't, it's going to be hard. And I don't know whether he's tired, whether he's distracted, whether he's been tight. I don't know any of those things because I'm not there inside inside practices or whatnot. But I think he's an awfully important part of their team, obviously, and he's going to be an awfully important part of their team tomorrow. I talked to Murphy Holloway earlier this week, and he was talking about how Terrence has to play with a sense of urgency that he didn't see in Nashville, and he didn't have to have it in Nashville. They were in the tournament. But if he wants to play on Sunday and have a chance to kind of be a giant killer, he's got to play. I think he's got to play well on Friday. And then if you're one of those people like the Falcons receiver who thinks Ole Miss is making a deep run in the tournament, look, he's got to be a dominant player. When Ole Miss is at its best, when this team has won big games, Terrence Davis has typically been really good.
Yes, and to me, another somewhat not like real analysis thing that has popped into my head. What do you think about Schuler playing close to home? He's like, I can see it going either way.
He's such a kind of a free spirit kid that I don't know that it will faze him. But, his whole family's there. I've talked to his whole family not that long ago, and they don't mince words. They put a lot of pressure on him. They expect him to excel. They expect him to be great. I do think he puts a little extra pressure on himself when he plays here. He didn't play particularly well here last month when Ole Miss lost to South Carolina. It was a completely different game, but I think he'll be okay. I mean, he's a facilitator, and he's best when at least one of the other two, Tyree or Davis, is kind of going off, and it lets him get his. He was awfully good against Alabama in the first half last week. He's the reason that Ole Miss was up 16, and quite frankly, had one of the other two guys shown up, they would have been up 25 at the half, and they would have won that game and would have won it easily. But I think he'll be fine. I just think this thing comes down to Tyree and Davis, mostly Davis. I expect Brean to have a bounce back game. I want to see what Davis does.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Like, to me, I don't know if not really having tournament experience plays in Ole Miss's favor or not. Like, Oklahoma's been here a few times. Lon Kruger is one of the most underrated coaches in all of college basketball, but you can make a case that Kermit Davis is also one of the most underrated coaches in basketball. Like, to me, it's an 8-9 matchup. I don't think one team has decided advantage over the other, and this is why the tournament is awesome. Like,
yeah,
I would say, like, I'm an unapologetic football guy, but I was thinking about it all week. Like, these are my two favorite days of the year. And not that Saturday and Sunday aren't great either, but Thursday and Friday are my two favorite sports days of the year.
Yeah, it's 16 games each day, and you're going to get upsets because of the numbers. And
the games have stakes. Like, that's the other thing. Like,
yeah, it's one and done.
When basketball has stakes, it's not quite like Game 7 baseball, because Game 7 baseball is the worst. When every pitch matters and you get a guy on base and he doesn't score and you think it's the end of the world. Like, there's nothing quite like one and done baseball. One and done basketball, though, every possession, like, if you don't score and whatnot, like, it becomes just a if your team's in it, it's miserable, but it is fun to watch.
Yeah, it's an NBA Game 7 playoff series every single game.
What game are you looking forward to the most, Jeffrey, just from a pure game standpoint, with today's schedule?
Ooh, today. I mean, I hate to say it, but I do have, like, some interest in seeing what LSU looks like, but to say that, like, that's my biggest game of the day, I think it's got to be Florida-Nevada, right?
Yeah, Nevada with 5 fifth-year seniors starting that are all transfers from other programs with the Wolfpack.
Yeah, I think in the end that's the game that I'm the most excited about.
You got Murray State or Marquette? Obviously, Murray State with the big player.
I took Murray State, but I hate it.
Okay. Oh, God. Fair enough. Okay. Last thing is, are y'all still doing the penny NIT thing, or is it just because it's penny or because it's the NIT? Have y'all backed off that a little bit? What's up in Memphis?
Well, I mean, yesterday was the 365-day anniversary of Penny taking the job, so we nice little trip down memory lane. And truth be told, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about on a Wednesday yesterday. So yeah, that's where we are right now.
All right, 11:15 is when it gets started. Good luck with the show. Talk to you both.
All right, guys.
Thanks to Jeffrey for his time today. He had a pretty busy morning, but made sure we got this in, so we thank him for that. And we thank G&M Pharmacy in Oxford, one of our longtime podcast sponsors. We'll tell you about their availability now with CBD oil. It is in a pharmaceutical grade oil available in multiple different forms, including topical salves and soft gel capsules. It's an all-natural product that helps maintain overall health and helps regulate many conditions such as depression, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and more. Studies show that 42% of CBD users stop using traditional medications and use cannabis instead. You're not going to get a lot of the side effects you're expecting from marijuana. It's made from hemp. It is FDA approved and available here at G&M, where they deliver local to your home or workplace. You can find out more, 662-236-2222.
My mailbag went up yesterday. It's part of rebelgrove.com. It's sponsored by the Westin Jackson. Gather at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro tonight. Watch the tournament game, sip on a creative craft cocktail, enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships. So gather at Estelle tonight. The podcast is also brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. You know the drill. If you're thinking about traveling this summer, thinking about traveling for the holidays, it'll be Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that stuff before you know it. Get in touch with John. Give him some parameters. Give him a budget. Let him give you some options. You don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of the services. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. So get in touch with him, 901-494-3387. Send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first book trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. It's a podcast that is also sponsored by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. It's just off Interstate 55 in Grenada, Mississippi. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on this podcast on rebelgrove.com. You'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Podcast also brought to you by ScriptedJewelry.com. Again, we tell you for a long time, if you haven't done it, do it today. Go to the website, see what they have to offer, because you will find something to give that special someone in your life, and they personalize it in a very unique way. You can put your own message, put your own script on it. They do fingerprint stuff. They do so many different items for you to make it special with Scripted Jewelry. The turnaround times are great. They work with you to make sure you get exactly what you want when you need it. You can also see what people purchased recently to give you some ideas there with Scripted Jewelry, and you can save money in the process. Again, just put Rebels10 in the coupon code box, REBELS10, to save 10% off with ScriptedJewelry.com. Let's see, some more basketball. Speaking of, on the site, we got some football, we've got a softball notebook, we've got baseball, we got basketball, we got recruiting, so a lot there on the site at rebelgrove.com. There is a website that we operate. You should check it out occasionally. Okay, let's see, NCAA Tournament stuff, thanks to Jeffrey again. Pulling up Thursday's thing to run through this a little bit. What do you like if they both win? What do you like Auburn, Kansas on Saturday?
Ooh, kind of like Auburn.
Do you?
Yeah.
This is not, I mean, it's Kansas only in the theory that they have the uniforms on that have Jayhawks on them.
Yeah, Auburn would be the more talented team. I mean, look, I think Auburn could get beat today. These 5-12 games go squirrely, and they're playing a good 12. But if they win today, they could get on a run. They played really, really well in Nashville.
Florida, Nevada, what are you thinking?
Oh, that's a good game.
I kind of like Nevada.
I kind of like Nevada, yeah.
Do we say it different? Do I say Nevada and you say Nevada?
You say tomato, I say tomato. I don't know. I think you pronounced it correctly. I've screwed it up,
You think so?
Yeah, probably. It's my Ruston high school education. If you can spell it, they just give it to you. You don't have to pronounce it.
I mean, both are somewhat correct, I assume.
I don't think anybody's getting deeply offended by it one way or the other.
I mean, we had about a 90-post thread on the board the other day about Nelt versus Nield. So,
yeah, and I think I just screwed it up. Technically, I was right. I didn't give it a whole hell of a lot of thought. I just screwed it up.
Well, in the language today, a lot just kind of goes, and people don't like irregular verbs. So they just allow them to sort of be okay either way. Irregular verbs are kind of leaving our language.
I try not to be this way. I really do, but I'm about to offend some people, and I'm sorry. I tell my kids at least once a week, You need to write thank you notes, write thank you letters, learn how to write, spell correctly, and learn the language. Learn basic grammar. Learn basic punctuation. And what used to pass as just that's what you had to do is now superb. I'm telling you, man, people can't write. They cannot communicate. And when if anybody points out that's a grammatical error, they get very angry. Everybody gets very defensive. It's unreal. It blows me away. It drives me crazy, but it's there. And I don't mean an occasional mess up. I mean just a disaster.
Yeah. We've talked about it a lot.
I don't think basic, and there's probably some teachers out there that are going to argue, because I know there's some teachers at Oxford High that listen to the podcast, and I'm not necessarily referring to Oxford High School, though. I don't think my kids do as much grammar as we did in high school. I just don't. I don't think it's taught to the extent that it was taught with us. I don't.
So you think it went way out there the other way in math and things like that, but way back in English and grammar and rhetoric and stuff?
Yes. I don't think they read as much as we read. But they're far more advanced in math and science than I was, and that's probably a good thing. This is coming across as a criticism, and I don't mean it as one.
It's moved into more of a STEM education than a liberal arts education.
Yes, it's an observation. It's not a criticism. But I tell the kids all the time, and I'm right. This is in my mind non-negotiable. Learn how to communicate, because just basic communication will set you apart. Because there are people who literally cannot write thoughts down. Can't do it. And so when you're asked to write an essay, or it's time to write an application, and you're having to answer a question with paragraphs, they can't do it.
Let's look at the schedule a little bit. You got a lot of big names tonight. We were making the joke earlier about all the programs and issues earlier in the day, but some pretty decent games. I'm really interested for some reason, and I have no idea why, in Villanova St. Mary's, that 6-11 game that tips off 6:20 tonight. That's one that has caught my eye on the second half of the schedule. You got Florida, Nevada right there. Actually, even starting at 3:30. You got Marquette, Murray State at 3:30. I think that's interesting. You got Florida, Nevada at 5:50. Go ahead.
If you haven't watched John Morant, the Murray State point guard, he's worth the price of admission.
He can win that game today for Murray State.
Absolutely.
I'm very interested in them. Then it kind of goes into a lull. I want to see Wofford, Seton Hall, that 7-10 game at 8:40.
That's a really competitive game. It ought to be a good game.
Little thing there, too. You know, if Seton Hall happens to pull the upset, they beat Kentucky in the regular season, they would get them again in the next round.
And that was purely by accident.
Yeah, of course. Which I think Wofford's going to end it for them. Wofford's a really good basketball team.
They are.
So, I mean, if anything, if you told me that Wofford was kind of scaring Kentucky a little bit, I don't think they're going to win, but if you told me they were scaring them on Saturday, I'd believe you.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
And then the nightcap tonight might be just a really good game as far as that perfect NCAA game where it's not overly well played, but it's close, so everybody calls it a classic. Baylor-Syracuse in the 8-9 matchup to cap off the night.
8-9 games are typically fun.
Yeah.
They're flawed teams with some talent, some good players.
So much volatility. They get going in a direction, and you got all these runs and all this crap, and yeah, they're sort of a beautiful disaster out there.
I mean, look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a prototypical 8 seed. Ole Miss can be scary. Look, Ole Miss should have beaten Tennessee. Tennessee's a 2 seed. If Blake Hinson makes one of 2 wide open threes, the Ole Miss-Kentucky game comes down to the final possession. And Kentucky could win the whole damn thing. On the flip side, Ole Miss got blown out at Alabama. Ole Miss got beat pretty good in the last 4 minutes at South Carolina. You don't know Ole Miss lost at Arkansas. Damn near lost at Missouri. You don't know what the hell you're getting with Ole Miss. That's what makes these games fun. Oklahoma's the same way. Oklahoma got blown out a bunch of times. Oklahoma blew out Kansas. You don't know what you're going to get from Oklahoma tomorrow. So it makes these 8-9 games fun. And then whoever wins, here's the scary part for a Virginia, is whoever wins Ole Miss Oklahoma tomorrow wakes up on Saturday morning and goes, hey, you know what? Tomorrow we get a free shot. Pressure's off now. We won a game. And now you get
a team that's going to be a basket case.
You get a team that is, like we just said, volatile, but they just won, so they have some confidence. There's no expectation for them to win, so there's no pressure. They know at the end of the night they're going to go home, and they're either going to be celebrated for what they did or celebrated for what they did against a team that's going to be a basket case. That's what makes it interesting for probably nerve-wracking for Virginia a little bit is in a best-of-7 series, Virginia would beat Ole Miss and Oklahoma every single time in a best-of-7 series. With no exception, they would win every single best-of-7 series by probably 4-1 over and over and over and over and over. But it's that one that's terrifying for Virginia.
Yeah, it just takes one. One game, one bad spurt.
Yep, one little 6-minute spurt changes your season.
Yeah.
One unconscious shooter. And that's what has to scare him about it. Like, I'll give you an example. Ole Miss goes down and beats Mississippi State. Go back and watch that game again. Blake Henson couldn't miss. He hasn't done that since. But what if he did it again? That's what has to terrify a team is, if Ole Miss ever puts it together, and they haven't, through 30-something games, they haven't put it all together. And so the odds are they won't this weekend either. But if they did, they're talented enough to pull it off.
And in some ways, they're a better team than they were at that point, just because Bruce is so much more cohesive with the system now than they were at that point.
Yeah. Oh, listen. Tomorrow's the game because there's nobody. Doolittle has to guard him. Doolittle's a 6'7" guy. If you're Oklahoma, you're worried about foul trouble with Doolittle because if he gets in foul trouble, you're screwed. There's nothing to prevent Bruce from getting 15 and 11 tomorrow, other than Bruce just not doing it. But if he goes off, on to the third round you go, and then you have one of those games where to beat Virginia, it's very simple. You have to shoot the lights out. From the perimeter, you've got to make threes. And Ole Miss has dudes who can hit threes. They just have to hit them that day.
Well, they got soft rims, though, so it's good. All good.
Yeah.
I'm really worried for Jeffrey now with the over-under deal. He's making me nervous, and the games haven't even started.
He's making me at least interested to watch it, though. I'm curious to see what happens.
I do understand, though, unders, because of what we talked about. Teams freaking out early, taking time to settle in. I know Vegas kind of accounts for it, but in my head, unders make a lot of sense in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, because of the nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just everything's uncomfortable. Games go over during the season because home teams shoot the lights out and are so comfortable in their own buildings. That's what a lot of it is. And, I mean, you got a really good bar morning in the morning for, if you're trying to go out, watch Ole Miss. Before that, even, I'm intrigued by the opening game tomorrow. You got Cincinnati, Iowa in a 7-10 game tomorrow.
That should be a really interesting game.
Trying to get Tennessee in the next round.
I like Tennessee in that quadrant. I'll just tell you, I think Tennessee's going to Louisville.
Yeah. Tennessee feels like the team that gets to the Elite Eight and then kind of gets popped a little to me. I just feel like at some point talent wins out.
We've talked about it all year.
I know. They feel very New Orleans Saints to me. They do.
Yeah, I do question whether they have that elite scorer to carry them in a game.
I mean, Grant Williams is very good.
Yeah, but he's a first-round pick. He's a good player.
He's good.
And I like Schofield, and I love Jordan Bone. And
then they get to the free throw line, and by gosh, they hit them.
Yeah. They're an interesting team, no question.
Texas Tech starts their run at 12:30. I think they're a little undervalued as a 3 seed. I like them a lot. Got a couple weird losses, but Tech's good. Big 12 really under the radar because of Kansas not being what we expect from Kansas, in my opinion. We're not really talking about any Big 12 team.
Because there's not a great team. It's just a bunch of good teams.
Yeah, I mean, you got 3 seeds, you got 4 seeds, you got all right groups, but yeah. Iowa State starts tonight. If you have a little bit of an affinity for them because Ole Miss has played them this season, they start their run. They are a 6 seed at 8:50 on TBS tonight in Tulsa, Oklahoma against Ohio State in a 6-11 game.
They're a turbulent team.
They are.
Could go a lot of different directions.
They would get a 3 seed after that, which would be Houston. Houston, Georgia State is the other game there, I believe.
I'd watch Houston, Iowa State.
Good guards, boy.
Yeah.
Could take off. Hey, if there's really soft rims, Iowa State's making a run in this.
Agreed. They won the 12 tournament, right?
Did they? I have no idea.
I know they made the final.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not keep up with Iowa State. I apologize. 23-11. They finished 5th in the Big 12 in the regular season. Frankly, that's a little bit of a disappointment considering how they played. Yes, they did win the Big 12 tournament. They lost 3 in a row to close the regular season, and then they beat Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas in order in Kansas City or wherever it was. So it's fun. I'm excited for it. As much as I don't like basketball, I like drama and I like just the one and done nature of it. If it was 2 out of 3, I wouldn't care.
If you need a basketball break, the Ole Miss men's tennis team back at home, they host Georgia on Friday at 6 p.m., Tennessee on Sunday at 1 p.m. Admission is free. For more information, visit OleMissSports.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Savannah Square is a new 9-acre development, 0.7 of a mile from the Oxford downtown square. It's conveniently located east of North Lamar, just a short stroll from the Midtown Shopping Center. It houses Snack Bar, BBB, Track 61. It's close to Volta and Handy Andy, the Oxford Canteen. Savannah Square will initially consist of 32 standalone detached structures ranging in size from about 1,060 square feet to about 2,400 square feet. The model homes available for your inspection at 215 William Street. The homes have wonderful layouts, impeccable finishes, which you can inspect at the model. So give Harry a call. Look at the model, get more information about this great new development while they're still available. So you can view more at SavannahSquareOxford.com or call Harry Alexander with Remax Legacy Realty at 662-801-5621. Podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank. OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with the personal touch. When you call OUB, you speak directly with the live person. There's no 10 buttons to push, no 5-minute wait. What there is the absolute best cash checking account. It's called Kasasa, and with Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000 and refund ATM fees nationwide. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxford.bankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB, FDIC insured.
Podcast is brought to you by Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape, 662-607-7773. You can get a free quote also by emailing them at info@gomastercuts.com. Let them take care of you all year long, all of 2019, with basic maintenance, with flower bed stuff, with putting pine straw down, planting trees, or flowers, or custom playgrounds, fences, decks, and more. Mastercuts can take care of all of it. They have for me for years, and tell them Rebel Grove sent you. We'd appreciate that. 662-607-7773. Again, Ole Miss beats Pine Bluff 25-0 yesterday in a 7-run game. It was nice to have the run rules in effect. I do not recall them in regular season games at any point at Ole Miss in the past, but they were appreciated this week. Pine Bluff, not only 2-18, but also I think they've played 20 straight road games because their stadium's being renovated or something. So they haven't even been home during this stretch. I'm assuming it got Jordan Fowler and Zach Phillips some confidence the last 2 days. They played a lot of guys. Those are your positives. I do think there are negatives too, from potential relative RPI to just slowing down your bats and having to adjust to that crap that Pine Bluff was throwing out there as far as pitching for 2 days. All in all, Neil, positive or negative of the last 2 days as Ole Miss heads into Missouri this weekend?
Probably a net zero. I'd be a little worried about the bats just having to speed back up when you're seeing 60s and 70s, and now you're going to go see, upper 80s into the mid 90s. That is a completely different look.
And now it is easier to go up than down.
Yeah, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine. I would be interested if Pine Bluff would come back to Oxford. I'd like to see them play Oxford High School and see what happened.
I think Oxford High would have a chance if Ole Miss could play defense for them. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Pitching and offense, I think they could have a chance if Ole Miss could just play defense for them. I think the errors and Pine Bluff is much better defensively than a high school. They actually were pretty dang good in the outfield. I was impressed, but everybody else was a disaster.
I think Pine Bluff would win the game. I think it'd be more competitive than people think it would be.
You really think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, look, all jokes aside, I'm not making fun of Pine Bluff. Credit to those kids. They're almost all walk-ons. They're from all over the place. They just wanted to play college baseball. They got an opportunity to do that. They're doing it. All their people were super when I talked to some of them on Tuesday. In some ways, I really admire what they're going through. They're kind of the baseball equivalent of the walk-on that gets his head beat in during football practice every day because he just wants to keep playing the game. And they're doing it. They'll win some SWAC games a little bit. There was nothing to drop your head about the last 2 days in Oxford if you're Pine Bluff.
No, I'm not criticizing the kids at all. Good for them.
I don't think I could do it from a decision standpoint, but credit to you if you can.
You want to play that badly, and you play. So good for you. They'll be able to say years from now they played college baseball.
Yeah,
it'll be true.
But dang.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it, but
tough days.
Oh yeah, just
You said in your mailbag that if Kentucky doesn't win it in the next 3 years, you think Cal's gone. Did I see that right?
Yeah, there's I know a couple of Kentucky fans, and they get pretty antsy, and I think they're representative of that fan base. Look, hey, Cal's fine, and odds are he'll probably either win one or make such a run at one that it'll feel like they won one. But I think you're expected to win the SEC tournament and make the Final Four. That's the expectation. That's a hard job.
They did not win the SEC tournament.
Nope, they didn't. And, first one they hadn't won in like 5 years or something crazy, and everybody loses their mind over it there. I just think it's a hard job.
So in a weird way, Kentucky's job has gotten harder because the rest of the league has gotten better versus the other jobs in the SEC getting a little easier because the rest of the league got better.
Absolutely. Kentucky next season could win the league at 13-5. I'm telling you, I'm on the record with my prediction for next season. An 8-10 SEC team is going to the NCAA tournament. Might be going to Dayton, but they're going to the tournament
next year. When we've had conversations in the past on this here podcast that 12-6 would be the necessary move to get you in the past.
Yeah. Well, there have been 11-7 SEC teams that did not get in.
Were you surprised Carolina didn't even get an NIT invite?
No, because the NIT is so weird about overall rankings and stuff.
And all those regular season champs get in.
Yeah.
Anyone that gets upset in their conference tournament's guaranteed a spot in the NIT.
Then you look at a team like Alabama last night. They just didn't want to be there.
Oh, they got popped last night?
Yeah, they got beat at home by Norfolk State. Supposedly there were about, if you had counted the bodies, about 1,500 people there.
That's it?
Yeah. just, that tournament. I get it. It serves a purpose at times for programs, but for the most part, it doesn't. Like, if you're a program it's up and coming and you've got a bunch of young guys and you just didn't quite get it done that year, it's one thing. You're a program like Alabama that opened the season thinking they were a tournament team. And then you have the disappointing season that they had, and the coach is on the hot seat, and they're hoping that he leaves on his own volition, and they might fire him. It's hard to get those kids. Hey, Norfolk State's coming in, NIT game. If we win 2 more of these, we get to go to New York and play in front of nobody. Just don't think that resonates with kids much.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised NIT's still a thing, if you want to know the truth.
I am too. I think it's as much just some TV filler as it is anything. Like next week, play some games on Tuesday and Wednesday, keep people focused on basketball. Did you know opening day in Major Leagues is a week away? But you didn't know that. 1 week from today, the Major League Baseball season opens.
But hold on. There's already been a regular season game played, so why is that not opening day?
I guess you're right. Baseball had its opening day the last 2 days, technically, in Japan. Ichiro Suzuki's career ended this morning in Japan, and no one knew about it. Damnedest thing. That sport, and someone, I just read a minute ago, Chase, that the MLB app blacked it out.
Why?
I don't know, because they're insane.
I don't know what I think. The three of us were discussing it prior to recording with Jeffrey this morning, and I do completely agree that nationally it's just completely non-existent right now. It's nothing. I still think there's so much viability to just being a regional sport that the sport is fine, but that its standing is potentially in danger of falling a tier or a level, or however you want to go about saying that.
I question their ability, given their marketing that they do. I question their ability to attract young fans. I mean, I have a 12-year-old little boy, and he likes baseball. And his dad's a big Cubs fan, so he's a big Cubs fan, and he keeps up with the Cubs, and he has notifications on his phone every time the Cubs score a run in spring training. So he's in. But Chase, he's vast minority, man, his group. Yet they can tell you all about, and I've been around them, 12-year-old boys. They can tell you all about the NFL. In his age group, they can tell you all about college football. They can tell you all about NBA players. I'm coaching a group of 12-year-olds right now. And every time, in BP, you have to round up the balls. They're all trying to shoot the baseballs into the bucket, and they're all going, I'm Steph Curry, I'm Kevin Durant, I'm Russell Westbrook, I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm this guy. Bunch of kids all naming these basketball players. And they all know soccer players. Even kids who don't play soccer know soccer players. They don't know baseball players. They don't know them. I mean, we've done this conversation before. We're about to wrap up. I'm not going to sit here and get into it now, but I think it was ESPN, the magazine, did the top 100 marketable sports figures in the world, and baseball had one.
99.
Number 99, Bryce Harper.
Yeah, and now I don't think the world matters per se. I would be much more interested in U.S. because there's a lot of, there's soccer players that obviously are resonating worldwide and more in America than ever before, but they're all over the list that's not necessarily indicative of the country. And then there's cricket players on there who we have no idea about, which whatever. So I would like to see a little more of an American list, but it's still very eye-opening that you have, even just compared to the NFL and the NBA, they're so far down the list within Major League Baseball. 99. Yeah. Bryce Harper.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit here and I bet you I could name 30 NBA players who are more marketable with 12-year-olds than any baseball player. And NFL, damn near every quarterback. It's unreal, man. And then, like I said, soccer players internationally, they know who they are.
Yep.
They do. And I mean, there's a reason that all these cities like Atlanta and Cincinnati and Memphis and stuff, they get good soccer ratings and they get crowds at soccer games. And I'm not Mr. Soccer, so don't do that to me. But I know what I see.
The next 5 to 10 years are going to be really interested in this conversation.
Agreed.
How it keeps going. Does baseball find itself a little? Does sort of the newness wear off with some of the soccer stuff in the Memphis and the Atlantas and the Louisvilles and some of the southern towns that have embraced it a lot? I don't know. We'll see over the next decade. But nonetheless, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, tomorrow, 11:40 Central Time from Columbia, South Carolina. Neil's already there. He'll have coverage at rebelgrove.com. We got a little bit of everything on the site, so go find that. We will not have a show tomorrow. We'll be back with another show on Monday to recap whatever happens in the NCAA tournament between now and the end of the weekend. Ole Miss baseball's trip to Columbia, Missouri this weekend as they play a series that they desperately need to win to kind of keep pace in the very rugged SEC West. So again, from Columbia and Oxford, we'll talk to you again on Monday.